Okay, apologize for being late, ladies and gentlemen, and young people here. I'm sure we're going to have some wonderful presentations and announcements. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to the City Council Calexico Community Redevelopment Agency, successor agency, Calexico Financing Authority regular meeting, June 17, 2014, and approximately 6:44 in the evening, where we're going to begin our meeting. We had a closed session at 5:30. I'll defer to our city attorney, Mrs. Lyons.
Mr. Mayor, council met in closed session on items A and B. Both of them are continued until after open session.
Thank you. Okay, call to order in attendance, looking to my right and my left. It's a pleasure to have all our council members present. Now, will you please stand and join me for the... Ready, begin.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Now we have the approval of the agenda. May I please have a motion?
Mr.
So
Mayor,
moved.
Staff has a few requests,
Oh,
if you will.
okay.
Staff would be requesting to pull item 7 off the agenda.
Seven?
Yes, it will be submitted on the July 1st agenda. It's related to the election. And staff also requests that item 16 be moved to just prior to the consent agenda, if possible, because there is a
Okay.
consultant.
So we'll do item number 16 before the consent.
If council would
Okay.
approve that.
Anyone like to make a motion on that? Or? We make a motion or we just acknowledge it?
A motion would be great.
A motion.
I'll move that we make those changes on the agenda.
Is there a second?
A second to put the questions.
All right. That was a second, right?
Yes.
Okay. All right. Council members, please vote.
Yeah, second with the question.
Oh, for questions. I'm sorry, I didn't hear that part. Go ahead, Councilman Kim.
The one thing last meeting I requested 2 things agenda on today, which is extend the waters and sewer service to the border patrol issues, and the other one is California Street issues that discussed in this meeting is not in the agenda. So I believe the staff, we have some circumstances, but staff has to be followed to the what we requested, put it on the agenda we can discuss. I'd like to that one has to next meeting.
Okay. Councilman Kim duly noted. It is an important comment.
Second.
Okay, and you second. All right, then. So with that information given and item 16 moved to head of consent item, and consent item number 17 postponed till July 1st, then the agenda is approved. Will we please vote on that? Okay, it passes 4-1. Dissenting is Councilwoman Hurtado. All right, ladies and gentlemen, let's move on to our presentations. We have some very good ones this evening. We have, starting with A, presentation by Gregory H. Walker, Hewitt and Zollers on the Calexico Border Intermodal Transportation Center feasibility study. Very, very important feasibility study, and very anxious to get some of this information. So,
Mayor,
welcome, Mark Bassa.
I'll just make a quick introduction.
Sure.
To Greg and to the consultant team. I just wanted to give a little bit of background that back in 2011, we pursued a grant on behalf of the city to pursue this feasibility study. We knew this was a need that was identified by the city, as well as we felt it was an opportunity for us to improve our transit operations, as well as the transit operations for private companies that operate in the city, potentially Greyhound services, potentially agricultural buses that travel throughout the city. And so we got a grant, and we didn't get started until probably late in 2012, but probably 2013 anyhow. But we're at a point, and we wanted to share the overall goals of the study and then at the end of the study, of this presentation, we want to get some consensus from you about the direction that we're heading. We'll be bringing back a final draft report in September later this year, and a recommendation for a preferred alternative. But we're going to review all the alternatives that we've looked at so far with the help of the community and folks like yourselves. So with that, I'll turn it over to Ray.
Thank you very much, Mr. Bassa, Executive Director of ICTC.
Thank you, Mr.
Welcome,
Chair,
sir.
members. So, as Mr. Bassa was able to mention, this is a feasibility study for a future intermodal transportation center in downtown Calexico. And just a couple of slides real quick. Recently, within the past year, there's been a new center opened in El Centro. The regional bus transfer station is along the similar lines of what we're thinking. And then there's another one in Brawley. And both of those have been very successful, and ICTC has been involved in implementing those and developing funding for those. But the purpose of our study is basically to facilitate, sorry, I got ahead of myself on the slides. The study is being managed jointly by ICTC and SCAG. And then, as you can see, the steering committee, which is managing the day-to-day and providing review on the technical documents, includes SCAG, ICTC, the City of Calexico staff, IBT, and Caltrans as well. It's been a good team. But our purpose for the study is basically, or for the facility, is to facilitate pedestrian movements for public and private transit throughout downtown Calexico for all of the users. We know that right now there are approximately 25 different transportation providers, private and public, in downtown, including taxi companies and different shuttles and the ag contract services, et cetera. And they're operating at various locations throughout downtown, and in an effort, for the next slide please, in an effort to improve that coordination and provide a consolidated connections for all of those users, or as many of those users that we can attract to the site, and minimize travel time, reduce confusion for the customer, and potentially improve downtown traffic and activate and enhance the downtown development in the future by making a public investment are our goals for the study. Within that, our objectives, I promise you it gets more exciting beyond this part. So, are to provide a central downtown facility for the multiple users, as I said, to collaboratively, cooperatively determine the feasibility of the new ITC. That's with you as a public body, with staff as advisors, et cetera. Identify all of the users of a particular program and the design requirements, and facilitate the facility design so that it complements and leverages the new land port of entry, because that is going to expand the crossings, expand the capability for crossings, and that will just be more people in downtown looking for transportation needs. Steve, my partner in the study, will talk about the survey that we've done on customers to understand their needs, and then at the end we'll develop a recommendation for a final product and an implementation plan to move forward with. So the scope summary is pretty straightforward. It's an alternatives analysis and feasibility study. We define the minimum requirements for the site. We'll identify a range of alternatives, which we've done. We came up with 6 alternatives by working with the steering committee, and then conduct the alternatives analysis. And Steve will talk about the public outreach that we've done, but that has been instrumental in shaping the alternatives as they've developed into the 6, and also helping with identify what the community concerns are, community needs, and that factors into the evaluation criteria that I'll talk about at the end of the presentation on how that gets us down to a short list of 3 sites that we're currently moving forward for more detailed design, and then we'll end up with a financial and implementation plan. So the schedule, we started October of last year, and right now We're starting the financial and operational feasibility of the final 3 alternatives to get that narrowed down to one final recommendation that we'll bring back to you with the draft and final reports for public comment at a public hearing in September. And then that will be our final recommendation. And so this doesn't have on the schedule, anything related to construction, and we'll talk about the next steps that'll have to follow up on this feasibility study as we get towards the end of the presentation. So with that, I'd like to introduce Steve, a PRM consultant. He conducted the public outreach for us.
Thank you, Greg, and thank you, Honorable Mayor and members of the City Council and Calexico staff. First of all, I want to introduce my partner here with PRM working with me is Patricia Chavez. We worked together for the last several months trying to understand what the issues are relative to the current riders, folks that cross the border to use transit, and the businesses that essentially will have to deal with buses coming and going and people walking on their way to bus stops. It was very important when we looked at this RFP from the sponsor's perspective that the community and local business were going to drive this study. It was going to be the needs and the concerns and the desires of the local community here that was going to create the basis for what I think you're going to find at the end of this presentation and what you'll find leading up to the final recommendation. And one of the things we found is we did many things. We talked to stakeholders, and Councilmember Moreno was one as a director of the adult school, because we've talked to educators, we talked to hospital, we talked to business folks, and we wanted to get a full description of everybody's issues relative to this matter. And what we found very early on was this is much more than a transit center. This is much more than a transit station. What community, business, and local leaders told us was this is really an opportunity to do some things downtown that really can energize the community, the business community, and what happens to put more feet on the street, if you will. So we did a number of things, including interviews. We conducted outreach in multicultural language and style. We did things with respect to the websites. We did things with going, to bus stops and talking to folks waiting for buses. And we engaged riders on both sides of the border. So if you can go to the next slide. The first element was the stakeholder interviews. And we talked to a number of people, and as I described before, a number of disciplines and folks that represent various elements of the community. And we broke it down into 4 basic areas when we started to talk about this proposed facility. Safety, the concept, downtown improvement, and services. And what we found is that most folks really didn't perceive downtown Calexico being an unsafe place. There were some issues on certain corners and so forth, maybe with lighting, maybe with certain perceptions of security issues at certain times of the day. But overall, everyone, without exception, felt that downtown Calexico was a safe place to be. What people felt is if you're going to relocate a facility, it should be in an area where people have to walk to, where, as I said before, feet on the street, people moving back and forth from the bus stops, the transit center, past local businesses, and so forth. The concept, there were some issues that people wanted to deal with. They didn't want it to create problems for existing traffic corridors. They wanted to be a catalyst for revitalization and a reason why people would invest in their businesses and why people would upgrade their businesses. And the services that people were looking for from transit services are, going to stores, going to banks. And then we looked at areas when the foot traffic and the transit traffic was the most busy, and that was typically Wednesdays when you had the swap meets and on the weekends and so forth. Sorry, the translation, some of the computer lingo kind of jumped together a little bit. It's unfortunate. Next slide, please, David. So we also had a meeting with the individuals, the companies that provide public transportation to the citizens of Calexico. And so we convened a transportation providers meeting, and we invited dozens of folks that represent private buses, that represent taxi cabs, that represent farm labor contractors. And we sat down and we talked about the various issues, not only relative to this center, but also what their issues were with the way things work now. And one of the things that people talked about was safety, and they talked about traffic safety. There was a feeling that at the point of entry in Calexico, downtown Calexico on First, there seems to be a lot of people going back and forth, and cars and buses intermingling with that, which could create an unsafe situation. And people, those operators were concerned about that. They were concerned about the raiteros, the unlicensed taxi bandits, as they're called, basically providing rides that are undercutting legal and licensed businesses, but also don't have to meet safety requirements and so forth, maybe not even licensed or insured. That's much of a big concern down in that area. Now, when they talked about what they wanted to see in a new facility, they talked about having enough space. Everybody should be included, the buses, private or public, taxi cabs, being able to drop people off from private vehicles, and farm labor vehicles also that basically come in the early morning and leave mid-afternoon, have to be accommodated. So we heard these things loud and clear. So there were a couple of other things we did to engage the public at large. And one of the things we were able to do was we staged a community walk. And as you can see, there's some good-looking folks right there that are out there walking around looking at things. And Mr. Mayor, thank you for being there. I don't know if the supervisor is still here, but he attended as well. And so what you're seeing here is that we had stations set up at each of the proposed and the locations that we were investigating. And we heard from folks firsthand what were their issues, right on the ground, right in front of us, not doing it on a map or not doing it from a picture, but doing it right at the site itself. We also held a community forum at the library here, and we had a pretty good group of folks. And what we did was we put out maps, aerial maps, and we allowed people, through the use of little stickies with notes, to tell us what their concerns. And it could have been anything. It could have been safety with respect to lighting. It could have been, safety with respect to if they felt crime was there or streets were too narrow. All kinds of things. And we derived a number of ideas and concerns and recommendations and so forth. So it was invaluable in terms of providing the design team with the study team with their marching orders. Again, just another perspective. That was the invitation that went out. David, if you can do it again. What we also did was we surveyed, onboard surveys, private, public bus riders, as well as Greyhound bus riders. So we ended up with a mix of 47% female, 53% male. What we found was that 85% of the people that we surveyed earned under $20,000, and that's a household number. So we asked them about what they wanted to see in a bus stop, in their bus stop, and they wanted amenities. They didn't want the costs to go up. They wanted more seating and shading areas and public restrooms, and I think these are all very obvious things, but these are priorities for folks. And so this is sort of the breakdown of the folks that we talked to, where they were going, why they use public transportation, and about half of the folks we surveyed were college-bound, IVC. Most of the folks that weren't going to college were going shopping. 15%, not a large number, but that's still a significant number of folks using for work. But we see 8 and 7% people using medical appointments and going to religious and meetings and personal sort of activities. So there's a wide range of folks that use the bus for various reasons. This is kind of important because it really tells us what kind of a rider that we have. And again, this is across the span. This is Greyhound, this is IVT, this is Calexico Transit, this is Numero Uno. These folks really are transit dependent. You've got 25% of the folks that basically indicated they have no other option other than the bus if they're going to get anywhere. You've got 31% saying that it's most affordable. So if you could take those two together, you've got over half of the folks in Calexico that really need to have public transit. And that number probably is a little bit larger than that. So you've got a community out there that really needs these services, and they need to be convenient, and they need to be comfortable. David? This is a snapshot of the Greyhound rider, and what we found that most of the people that are in the Greyhound terminals, and we surveyed folks throughout the days, several days out of the week, most come from across the border to the Greyhound line. 71% had basically never really seen IVT or local transit information, but almost 50% had used the local transportation services. So when we talk about the Greyhound riders, most of the folks were actually going to LA and then other areas after that. But the fact is that 45% of the folks do use public transit to maneuver the local community. And then what we found was, and I don't know if anybody from Greyhound here is, but their customers really didn't have a good perspective of the facilities that were there. 53% had an unfavorable view. Almost 40% don't have a family vehicle. So again, another group that has a large contingent of transit-dependent folks. So then we talked about a co-located facility, the thing that we're talking about here tonight. And both, without being prompted, we've got 93% of your local folks want to see that facility built, and almost 90% of the Greyhound riders would like to see that Greyhound service integrated into a local transit center as well. So that's it for my presentation. Thank you.
Very good. Excellent. Thank you very much. That was a very thorough presentation. Council members?
Sorry, Mr. Mayor.
I am sorry, you're not done. Okay. All right, we'll rewind. Okay, go ahead, sir.
So, in working with the stakeholder groups and with the public and with elected officials and various transportation providers, we ended up coming up with these 6 alternatives that are shown on the screen. 3 are along 3rd Street, and then the other 3 are along 1st Street. These really changed a lot. If I were to show you a map of what they looked like when we first started the study at our first stakeholder meeting, it's quite a bit different than this. So it was a very good process in working through these surveys and talking to people and learning what their needs were and what their thoughts were on the facility that ended up with these 6. So the scope of the project, the study that we're doing, is to narrow these 6 down to eventually down to 1. We're doing a 2-phase evaluation. The first one's more of a qualitative that gets them narrowed down to a 3 that I'm going to present, and then we'll do more quantitative with a higher level of design on those 3 to get to the final recommendation that we'll come back in September with. So what we learned from talking with everybody and working with everybody in the community is this whole list of programming needs, which is what does the site need to have? And we needed to determine that in order to get a feel for the size of the site that we would need. And so we know that we want the private and public shuttle buses there, the intercity tour buses if at all possible, that being the Greyhound, farm labor buses if at all possible. The taxi companies suggested that they would like curbside taxi stand at the facility. Kiss and ride, that's a term that not a lot of people are familiar with, but that's dropping your significant other off at the transit stop or picking them up, kissing them, and letting them go on their ride. So bicycle storage. What we really heard from almost everybody universally is that there really needs to be more sheltered waiting areas and benches for the facility than are currently available at 3rd and Pauline. Information kiosks would be important. We also heard strongly that operator and or public restrooms is a needed component. And I'll just note that those are included in the El Centro facility that was just opened. There's public restrooms there. And then trash receptacle lighting, fare, ticket, pass sales, if at all possible. So with all of that, we came up with this list of evaluation criteria. Now, this will be the same list that we move forward with in more detailed design, but we hope to quantify most of these as opposed to using a qualified review of the alternatives under these. So we know that walk distance and directness of the route are very important. We heard that from the business community and from the users. We know that we don't want to displace a current ongoing business. That's something we'd like to avoid. We know that on-street and surface parking loss is of interest to some people, depending on location, but overall, it's a concern not to lose any. The capital cost, we won't know any capital costs yet, but as you see when we work through the alternatives, some are relatively more expensive than others. The impact on existing transit lines, we didn't find that this was significant across, that all the facilities had minimal impact to existing services, shuttles, and transit. The size relative to the list of the uses and amenities that I went through, the traffic impact, site circulation, those will come up later as we get down to these last three and evaluate those. The safety for the pedestrians and the pedestrian passenger waiting area, and the potential to encourage economic development. This was an important one that we heard from various stakeholders and users, that hopefully that a public investment downtown would help spur other economic development. So as I said, this was a qualitative evaluation on the first evaluation process to get us narrowed down to the final three. I won't go through all of this. I'll be happy to answer any questions that you might have on it, but it's pretty detailed to go through every step on every one of those squares. But basically, there was consensus on alternative one, that's at 3rd and Paul Lynn, that's a current public parking lot. There was consensus that that was much too small to actually significantly provide for the facility. 3rd and Paul Lynn. The public parking lot, the small, where the existing IVT bus transfer center is. So that one fell out basically because of that. Alternative 2 is a half-block combination of parcels that's on East 3rd between Rockwood and Heffernan. It was a former Rite Aid facility. It's now empty. There was, again, consensus among everybody that that would be a good location. It's a direct route from the port of entry. And the size is definitely large enough to accommodate all of the needs that we've identified so far. Site number 3 is at East 3rd and Heber. And that is a combination of parcels. One is a existing public parking lot, and the other is a vacant lot that's fenced off with for sale sign right now.
Right.
We felt that that was a large enough lot that we could accommodate the majority of the uses that the study had come up with, but that it was the most indirect and longest route from the port of entry. So that was significant, and that one was dropped. Number 4 was the parking lot on First Street and Heber Avenue, and that's the public parking lot.
Right.
That is a good size. We were able to fit in a conceptual design most of the uses on that. However, we learned from the business community that that lot is primarily used for employee parking. And so if we were to displace that, that would need to be replaced somewhere else. So that one was dropped. That left us with sites 5 and 6. Those are both on East First. Site number 5 is basically on East First between Heber and Blair. It's that kind of triangular shaped lot, if you can picture in your head. Dirt lot that's just south of First, and in combination through the community walk and the community forum, originally we thought that that lot would be much too small and irregularly shaped to be able to accommodate the uses, but then it was, the question was asked, can we use the street and the curbside? And if we are able to use the curbside of East First on both north and the south, we feel like we can accommodate most uses in that location. So that one was kept. And then alternative 6 is, I guess, probably the most difficult one to explain, but what's most interesting in it is it proposes to use, or at least investigate the possibility of using, the historic customs building and reusing that possibly, for the restroom facilities that we talked about for Greyhound, if Greyhound wanted to move in there and we were able to come to an agreement with them on financing such a thing. And then it would take the existing transit center that's used by Calexico Transit Center and rebuilding that and taking out some of the parking that's next to the customs building to provide a little bit more space for circulation in there. And so basically providing a new facility there for the same uses that are currently using it, and then use East First Street for the transit buses. In the conceptual designs that we're going forward with right now, that has the most constraints on it because of turning radiuses and because of getting around the buildings, and we know that there's issues about providing new facilities within 60 feet of a border, and there's some other things that we need to work through on that. But basically, the recommendation that came from the steering committee was to move forward with the 3 locations for more detailed design, being Alternative 2 on East 3rd between Rockwood and Heffernan, the half-block rectangular piece, Alternative 5, which was on East 1st between Beaver and Blair, and Alternative 6, the one I just described with the Customs Building and all of the public space on 1st and in the street plaza where the current transit center is. So that's where we're at today to hopefully get consensus from you on that these are 3 logical alternatives to move forward with. And so our next steps would be to develop the site plans and evaluate these 3 alternatives on an equal footing, determine the financial and operational feasibility of those. You know, if demolishing the former Rite Aid building turned out to be cost prohibitive, then it wouldn't be financially feasible, that sort of thing. Operationally, if Alternative 6, it's mostly in the street using the Customs Building, if we couldn't make that work operationally, then that would prove infeasible for us. Come to you with both a draft report for a public hearing and then a final report after a public comment period so that we can incorporate public comment into the final report, and then start looking for funding. So that would be the next step. It would move forward after this point, after the current contract and current study are complete. It would move forward into an environmental evaluation and into more detailed design and cost estimating so that we could go after grant funds in order to fund the facility.
So I'll just make a closing remark in that, you know, we want to present to you the alternatives that we started off looking at, and that we're narrowing down to these 3 alternatives to cut loose the team to do a detailed analysis of each of those locations about, you know, what the costs are to build those facilities. And that is probably the best thing that we hope to get out of this. What does this cost? And then what is it that what is the amount that we need to go out and get to build this? Is it $10 million? Is it, you know, 12 million? Whatever that cost is. And then have an idea of what is going to be, how that facility will operate. And so that's, if there was no action tied to this presentation, but we did want to hear your comments as we move forward to analyze those 3 preferred locations right now.
Okay, very, very good. Thank you so much, Mr. Basa and your team there. Excellent presentation. Council, just very briefly, do you have any questions or comments?
Yes, I have some comments.
Yes, go ahead, Councilman Kim.
First of all, I agree with the citizens need to have a better condition of the service, and eventually Calexico has been short of the better service for the community. And first of all, I understanding this fund from the 2011 we issued a bond.
No, this was a Caltrans grant.
Mhm.
They have planning grants that they offer every year. And
So
we
it's
applied.
This money from the grant from the Caltrans. Okay, I think that we had some kind of a similar issues about 10, 15 years, I think around 10 years ago, we had a similar project. It's been discussed at the city. So first of all, as a council member, and I have to looking into the local government, local business. For the Calexico, people who crossing the border, they are shopping, they are very vital for the city of Calexico merchants, especially downtown areas, or sometimes the Las Palmas or the Swami people. If we have too close to the border, we just giving the pass through the Calexico border, not shopping in Calexico, and they're going to other city. So we're going to be just like a bypassing situations. So in that case, I'd like to have seen that the areas north side of 98 or Colon, so a little far away from downtown, the people are going to ask, well, then how they're going to go? We have a local the transportation, I believe one from the CTS, one from the IVT. We have two local bus line right there. So we can have a connection to that, so they can transfer the outside the city, they can go from the outside, from the north side of the city, not from the right after the border. The other one is the main issues, if we concentrated one big transportation areas, and we're going to be creating ourselves the huge traffic towards the areas. So I'd like to see little tax scattering to leave the local transportation at the, I believe, the 6 current positions. So they local transportation running there, and probably like a countywide, or maybe they have some more want to go to more further the countywide, probably from the north side. That's we need a little scattering, and also we were saying is I believe the kiss and ride. We're never going to stop them. Even we will move it, they're still going to be parking it right in front of the border. They want to drop them. They want to kiss whatever. They just leave them. So it's going to be not going to be changed. I've been seeing even the nighttime when I go to Walmart, the people park the car in front of the Walmart to give them the ride. They have left a lot of parking lot. They don't care. So people wants to have the short stays. And also, we all live in Calexico in this summer to make them to working to number 5 or some other areas. Sometimes people getting very desperate to not to go working. One of the things I've been seeing here was first time 30 years ago when I come to Calexico, I've been seeing the people working very slowly. So now I learned why, because too hot. So I believe that we need to consider those things together. So my suggestion is try to little scattering instead of the compacting altogether, probably we having the north side of the 98 to try to protect local business. I'd like to see those kind of movements, please.
Thank you. Councilman Kim, anyone else?
Yes.
Go ahead. Mayor Pro Tem?
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and thank you, Mr. Baza. Excellent presentation, by the way. I'm glad that the committee did an outstanding job of researching and graphing all this information succinctly. Has the consideration of the expansion of the port of entry been taken into account with these 3 areas?
Yes, we don't see that much of a change in terms of the ingress and egress at the port from, it'll be similar in proximity to where it currently is right now. So we think that this still fits within the way the patterns are currently for all the border crossings.
And I've spoken to some downtown merchants who feel that, as well as Mr. Kim, but a lot of the merchants, or the ones that I've spoken to, feel that the ability to walk through downtown lends itself to sales enhancement. I like the concept of the old Rite Aid building because that puts them a beeline right to the border, from the border up a few blocks into an area that is not really dynamic as it once was.
True.
So 3rd Street years ago had many businesses, and it was a big part of downtown. As it is today, it is pretty stagnant. So my particular preference would be to look at that Rite Aid building, look at that lot. It's not too far from downtown. It's possibly maybe a block more than the current circulation area. And I'm looking at the other alternatives, the 1st Street, one with the old Customs Border Protection. Now, I noticed that there's a blue strip that goes all the way down 1st Street. Would that whole area be an encompassing area for transit?
Yeah, well, we have, we're looking at different concepts for using both sides of the street. Maybe one side of the street could still be for where the taxis queue up, waiting for passengers pickups at the border, and the other side of the street could be used for bus turn-ins.
Right.
Right off the street, as well as using your existing city lot on that particular location.
And those other two alternatives, the parking lot, which is Heber up to, I think Heber up to Blair, again, that diverts pedestrian traffic away from downtown, as does the current one. So I think maybe the one that would possibly be, in my opinion, the most feasible would be the old Rite Aid building area.
And that's one of our recommendations to move forward with the study.
Okay.
So that one definitely will be looked at, as well as the middle one that's on the screen right now, the First Street, as well as the First Street option surrounding the old
Port of Entry.
Port of Entry.
Thank you, Mr. Baza. Thank you, Mr. Mayor. That's all I have.
Thank you very much. Good comments. Oh, you like him, huh? Okay. He said some good things. I also concur with Mayor Pro Tem. I like that site where the old Rite Aid used to be. But for me, I really want to work hard with ICTC and other constituents and groups and subcommittees and council to revitalize downtown. And I'll say it now, and it might not be a positive thing for some businessmen, and I never would want to hurt our downtown business, but if we could find a way where we could be profitable and have a promenade in a more beautified area downtown for a short stretch, I would really, really like to see that. So.
One of the things that we did want to look at, aside from a site, most of the passengers are coming from across the border and city residents. They're not coming from other parts of the outer parts of the city. Is to look at pedestrian access movements from the border crossing to the transit terminal, and then even identify some areas and opportunities to improve those pedestrian walkways leading from the port to this transit terminal. Not just the transit terminal, but also looking at cost of improvements and project concepts to maybe widen sidewalks where possible. Or
Put some trees down there.
Or other aesthetic improvements.
A lot of aesthetic improvements, I like, to beautify it, make it more culturally oriented. That's my opinion. Okay, anyone else?
Yeah, I'd just like to add, I had
Councilwoman
the opportunity
Hurtado.
to see the transit center that was built in Brawley, and it's a really small one, but it's really nice. I haven't had a chance to see the one that was just finished in El Centro. You said that one was on the corner of 7th and State?
Correct.
Okay, I'll go out there and take a look at that one. That one's a little larger. But what I wanted to say is that I was with you in that last organizational meeting, and as far as what we're trying to do here is cater to the riders' needs and not necessarily because we do need to recognize businesses, local businesses. However, what we're trying to do here is cater to those riders' needs, because the rider's going to do what the rider's going to do. We are just trying to give them the facilities and the better facilities than what we have now. And I think that it's really important, the location that you're preferring, the one on 3rd Street, it was really important to remember that I've had a business in downtown for 25 years, and Calexico's downtown area is super congested during Christmas time. So if we were to put a transit center within downtown, it would just be havoc during Christmas time. And as far as trying to take away a little bit of that congestion during that period of time is probably where we were trying to shoot towards that other location to try to keep away all that madness which already occurs in our downtown. But I did want to tell you that I really appreciate what we did that other day. The details make such difference. When you sit down and you look at a location and you understand your city, the way it operates, especially this downtown, and this downtown that is a completely different place and during the day and at night. So I really respect the work that you do, and I'm really excited to see the project where we're going. Thank you.
Thank you. Anyone else?
Yes,
Councilman
I have
Castro.
a question, Mr. Baza. You mentioned that location on 3rd in Heffernan, that's going to be for also for labor buses?
Potentially, if they would like to be located.
Part of the transportation.
Yeah. Well, for me, that's kind of a small property for that. I believe one of the best location, the way I see it is, I believe it's number 5. Heber in Blair, that's we're talking about almost 5 acres of lot. in order to work with the labor buses too, because there is a huge need for labor contract companies, especially because there's so many buses for the labor contract people. So I believe one on the third in Heffernan, that is kind of small. Also, the other issue is the first thing that we need to see is we have to look for the betterment of the local business in the good and also for the riders, the customers. And I don't know if you or the rest of the Caltrans knows that the actually transit service that is working right now in Calexico, they move almost 12,000 people, 12,000 seniors a month. And I don't think it's fair to move that transit on first and Heffernan 2 blocks ahead. That is going to be hard for, especially for senior people, for the needs of those kind of customers. Like I mentioned, the seniors, and that's another inconvenience for that location. That third and Heffernan, third and Heffernan.
Yeah, well, one of the things that we did clearly hear that input is that we would not impact any operations that are currently occurring at First and Heffernan. That we would not impact that. That area where that operations occur at First and Heffernan will still remain there.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, that we're, if that's the operator and the city's preference, that could still be there, and we still have a large terminal for all of the other operations, including, Calexico Transit and LNA Shuttle that does a service. They could still have a spot at the larger terminal, but you could continue to have transit operations at First and Heffernan, not to eliminate that facility.
Okay, thank you.
Okay.
I
Yes,
just
sir.
wanted to respond just briefly to Councilmember Kim's request to look at another location at 98. We don't have the resources. We never received that kind of input as part of the study, and we don't have the resources to look at outside of that location at this time. We've done a full analysis of those 6 alternatives.
98.
We never received any other input to look at other locations outside of the city.
When you have a workshop, I've been mentioning it, and you guys never listened to it.
Yeah, but we also received numerous input from riders, from pedestrians that use the services that never requested that potential. And so that's why we came up with these 6 alternatives.
Thank you very much, Mr. Abasa, and the rest of your team. Give them a hand, ladies and gentlemen. Nice presentation. Okay. We have one more presentation. Please be patient. What now? Okay, but, so what do they want? We have one more presentation. Okay. Council? Yeah, you're right. Okay. All right, we have presentation by the Imperial Police Department in coordination with Calexico Police Department on the Imperial Valley Gang Task Force. Then we'll have public announcements, and on public announcements will be John Renison and then Carmen Estrada and so forth. Okay, so let's move forward with presentation number B. Chief Tabares is going to take the lead on this. Go ahead, Chief.
Thank you, sir. Members of the council, distinguished audience, allow me to introduce and welcome Sergeant Barra from the Imperial Police Department, who will present the Gang Coalition in the Imperial Valley. Sergeant Barra. Honorable Mayor, City Council, and especially the citizens of Calexico. My name is Sergeant Leonard Brown from the Imperial Police Department. I'm also a member of...
Okay, John. All right, Mr. Romo.
Is that better?
Yeah, that's good.
I apologize for that.
No problem.
This one? Is that better?
Yes,
Okay.
I think it
do
is.
apologize for that. It's my first time here, so...
it's all right,
sorry
doing
about
well.
that. I also especially want to thank the citizens of Calexico. Like I said, my name is Sergeant Leonard Barr from the Imperial Police Department. I'm also here with my partners from the Imperial County Gang Intelligence Coalition. They'll introduce themselves.
Good evening, my name is Obed Flores. Good evening, my name is Obed Flores with the United States Probation Office.
Thank you.
Good evening, Frank Cordova with U.S. Border Patrol.
Thank you, sir. Next.
Good evening, Gerardo Guerrero from U.S. Border Patrol as well.
Thank you.
Frank Martinez from Imperial County Probation Department.
Frank.
Thank you. What we're here to discuss, sir, is what the Imperial County Gang Intelligence Coalition is. It's a monthly meeting that involves all law enforcement from local, state, to federal. We get together once a month and we strictly talk about information regarding gangs that affect the valley. We started out last August, where it was like our official meeting, and this is ballooning so big that we don't know what to do. We're just rolling with it. We're getting a lot of information from other agencies that think it only happens in their city, but actually affects almost every city in the valley. For example, one of the federal agents that were there was giving information about a gang in Mexicali. Once he described the gang and what they did, we found out that actually that gang has to do with another gang here in Calexico. From there, we started talking again, and we found out that that gang from Calexico also has ties to the city of Imperial. That's one of the main reasons why we started this coalition, is to share information. The reason why this is so important, and the reason why I believe in this, is in Imperial we had a gang problem a few years ago, and we still have a gang problem. Every city here in Imperial County does have a gang problem, whether you know it or not. Elderly grandmother came up to us and said, I'm getting threats from an associated gang member on my grandchild. Her grandson was only 5 years old. This gang association, supposedly grown men, went up to this 5-year-old kid and said, I'm gonna cut your fat ass. And this is a grown man. She took it to heart. What she did is she actually went out, she's on a fixed income, she went out and she collected cans. She collected cans and bought a motion camera and placed it on her fence because she noticed that gang members were walking back and forth. And every time they walked back and forth with 1, 2, or 3 people, she would give us that information. And if an elderly lady can sacrifice her well-being, I guess you can say, I think every member in this room has in them to do the same thing, or to a certain point. Part of the coalition is we're here to talk to you, hopefully we can get your endorsement, not just the city council, not just the citizens, but the police department, everybody. Chief DeBarris has helped us out a lot. We discussed some issues with him or what stuff we want to do. He said, you know what, do what you got to do. And in our gang meetings, 2 officers that give us the most information actually are from Calexico, school resource officers, Officer Sanchez, Officer Dominguez. Once we're done with the meetings, usually one or 2 of us will go up to him and says, hey, I got this information, can you help us out? They always say, no problem, and they would give us an answer. The city of Calexico and the Calexico Police Department are very, very much involved in our coalition. They support us 110%, and that goes with Chief DeBarris and Sheriff Loera. And that goes also to every chief. Now we're here to explain what we're about, try to get your
your go-ahead to actually give the police department the resources they need so we can keep this going. If there's no gang problem, then let's keep it that way. We're asking citizens to get involved. If you have information here in Calexico, contact the police department. Contact Officer Sanchez, Officer Dominguez, and try to get involved. Like I said, if an elderly lady on a fixed income can make a difference in Imperial, one or two people right here in this room can make a big difference. If you guys have any questions for myself or my partners.
Council members, any questions?
As far as identifying gang activity in the city, is there like a study that's being done, or how do you actually identify, or is it just as you're going along doing work? Or, because if I heard you say that you're going to provide resources to a city like ours, is that you're meaning providing individuals to assist with experience, or are you talking about money?
Right now, the way we've been operating is strictly on a volunteer basis. Everybody involved in this organization has been doing it on their own because this is something that interests them, and this is something that they understand what this could be or what it could become for Imperial County. So as far as our resources, what we're trying to do right now is we're trying to get everybody together, law enforcement within Imperial County, so that we can communicate in a better way, create better networks, so that when gang activity, it just doesn't occur in Calexico and El Centro. We have being on previously being on a gang task force, we have seen where gang members in Calexico end up associated to gang members in Brawley. And it all has to do with either illegal activities due to drugs or illegal alien smuggling. And those are the connections that we're trying to do by creating an organization like this. But not just, this organization is not just for law enforcement. We do have many projects right now currently that we're working with, and one of those is we're working with other organizations that have been established for a long time, organizations from Los Angeles and other areas, specifically to get to the point where we can bring in resources that would not cost us any money, but bring resources into Imperial County that could kind of provide training for law enforcement. And at the same time, we are also willing to work with the local community members, so that we're not just strictly a law enforcement organization, but we're also a community oriented organization as well. We would like to eventually, because there are some organizations here in Imperial County, we would like to partner with them as well in a way where if there's anything that we need to do for the schools, local schools in Imperial County, we can find a better way to kind of put more resources into that area, so that we're not just concentrating on being out there and arresting people, but we're also concentrating on prevention, going to schools, make it something that is here to stay, make it something that we're going to continue doing, not just 1 year, 2 years, and it's over with. And the main thing that I want to say is we are a self-sustaining group. We have no funding, we have no anything. Like I said, all it takes is the people that are involved within the group and that want to do this and want to create something for Imperial County. This is for Imperial County, it's not just for one agency. This is something that we would like to see grow into something that is a permanent organization in the Imperial County. So.
Mr. Mayor.
Go right ahead, Mayor Pro Tem.
First of all, I applaud that you come and speak before us, but that is precisely correct. An outreach to the schools is key. I look out in the audience and I see these young men out here in their soccer uniforms, and what Ms. Estrada and Mr. Garcia are doing is they're allowing them to not get involved in gang activity, because at their age, in their particular neighborhoods, wherever they may live in Calexico, they're recruited to join a particular gang, and if they don't have the activities that we have in the city of Calexico, they succumb to those recruiters. Back in the day, about 5-10 years ago, our schools would require parents to learn about these gangs and serve 4 hours in a year for their children to participate in graduation ceremonies.
I did that class.
Yes, and I think that is key, and prevention is key. So, and being the principal of a continuation high school, I know how important it is to know about particular signs, particular nuances to look at, to find out if these students are involved in these undesirable activities. So, outreaching to the community through the school, through the parents, school coalitions, like school site councils or PTAs or what have you, I think that would be key for parents to be required or to voluntarily go and listen to the presentations on how young boys and girls get involved and the damages that gangs do in the community. So I think if you need information, I work closely with Mr. Martinez almost on a daily basis, but I would sure like to assist in any way I can from my perspective, from the educator perspective. Okay?
Okay, excellent remarks there.
One more
Response,
thing
sir.
I want to say is we're talking about the Gang Coalition, and the Gang Coalition, like I said, we're growing faster than we expected. There's a lot more things that we're doing. One thing is we're actually starting a website. Our website there's two parts to it. There's to the public and to law enforcement. Law enforcement will share information. Anybody who can't make the meeting, we can share information with there. To the public, we're starting to set up a We Tip. If you have information regarding gangs, you just hit the We Tip button or icon, put in your information. You don't have to put your name, just put the information in, what you know, and it'll go straight to our gang task force. Currently, Imperial LECC has a unofficial gang task force, but they went out a month ago and actually all they did was go on the streets and contact gang members. It was extremely, extremely successful. They did a lot of field interviews. A field interview that's done today can help out 2 years from now when a gang member assaults a kid, a mother, an elderly person. Instead of gaining probation for three years, they actually have to do 10 years, 5 years, or whatever it is. Just that one contact that happened 2 years ago can make a difference between sending somebody to prison and actually just putting them on probation. And that's how important this gang coalition and the gang task force is, and that's why we're going to every single city council in the county. Right now, Calexico is the first one that we're going to, and we're going to continue spreading the word to every city council, as much as possible.
Councilman Kim.
Mr. Hodge. I applaud you gentlemen to effort to save the community. That's because youngsters, they are the future of the community. And fortunately, we have some the parents' athletic leagues to solving a lot of children. We are kind of like protected. And England, they've been had a lot of different way to prevent teenagers, the gang activities or problem. They failed except the sports to lead them to success. So I believe the other side of the support of the children support sports, and I wish our school district spend more money on those areas too. But I'm applaud to you guys. As a council member or as a community member, I'll give my full support. Thank you.
Anyone else? I don't think you just want our verbal support. What would you really like?
Resolution?
Go ahead. I have a list, so if you got time, I'm ready.
Just a little bit. I mean,
Sure.
Council cannot take action tonight.
No,
on this
I know
because it's a
that, but I
presentation,
mean,
But absolutely.
there's sort of an
request.
undercurrent here that we're
Sure.
not really bringing forth and directing.
You know, again, my name is Obed Flores. I'm with the United States Probation Office. And really, that's basically all we need at this time. By you guys supporting us and
Okay.
obviously Chief and the Sheriff supporting us, what we're asking is for them to allow 2 or 3 of their agents to be able to go to these meetings. We know
Okay.
they're short-staffed. We understand that they're short-staffed. We are pulling some of the officers from the school district. We know the SROs.
All right.
We understand that. All we're asking is, we believe that the information that they obtain when we go to those meetings is extremely beneficial, not only to the school, but to the community. So at this time, it's just allowing those officers to continue to attend to that meeting, again, once a month for 2 hours. It's not a lot. At this time, that would really mean a lot for us, and that's what we're basically talking to all these city councils so that they can allow these officers to continue to go, because sometimes they are on the clock, obviously, they are working, so they are, have to travel. We meet in Imperial at the LECC. So obviously for people from Calexico, people from Raleigh, I know we understand it's a drive, it's a 30-minute drive or so. So, 2 hours at the meeting plus, 20, 30 minutes back and forth, it's close to 3 hours that they're basically away from their shift. So just with their support and the support again with the chief and the sheriff, that's basically at this time what we need. I believe one of my colleagues here indicated that we're even thinking soon, hopefully next year, to bring training to bring the first gang conference to the Valley.
Excellent.
That's something that we're trying to bring, so where other agencies from California will be able to be here, and Arizona, meet in Imperial County and bring training to all the officers, not only to the officers that are attending the meetings, but, open to the other officers. We believe that will save actually money for the cities. Instead of sending their officers, to other states or other cities, actually bring the training to us, and a lot more officers will be able to attend.
Well, you certainly have my full support, and I thank you for clarification
Thank you
and
very
being more
much.
specific. And exactly what you said, I support that. It is very important that we have a task force like you're embedding here or explaining, along with wonderful sports groups and coaches. All those factors coalesce and interconnect and network that keeps our children with discipline and structure and good values and staying out of trouble. So thank you very much.
Thank you.
If I may.
Yes, you may.
As we go down this road, this gang task force will expand.
Okay.
I mean, just like other counties have
Yes.
gang task force, they end up doing
We're
different things.
taking baby
So
steps right
You
now.
just need to make sure as you go along the line, you realize that's the end, this is the beginning of.
I know that.
The city manager is exactly right. The ultimate goal is to have every agency actually have a member in the task force where they actually can concentrate, do 100% investigation in the task force. I know the budget's tight with every city, every police department in the county. At this time, I'm sure Chief DeBarra cannot really send somebody to the task force, but eventually that is a goal for every agency here in the Valley.
Wow.
You have any more questions or anything?
No, it's very important. Our children's safety and health, and to keep them alive is very, very
Yes, sir.
important.
The most important thing, I would like to know if anybody in the community has a question for us or.
Oh, very good. Okay.
Yes, ma'am.
Can they just stand there, or?
I actually have a comment, and it's good for me to hear about the gang coalition because John mentioned, we used to have one in Calexico a few years back. Unfortunately, our big leader that led that cause passed away 2 years ago. And I worked closely with probation, and I was the crisis counselor at that time. But I would strongly recommend that you also go to school districts and enlist their participation. The other thing is, I'm a consultant for the State Department of Education and also for the State Attorney General's office, and there's money and there's funding out there. So once you get a collaboration going, we will be able to get half, like I said, school district participation, so that you will be better able to acquire money from the state
Right.
for your
Thank you for that. I really do appreciate that.
Just let me know, I'll be glad to go to the meeting.
And I do appreciate that. And going off what you said, actually, we're doing the application now for the nonprofit status, so we can start doing the grant work and try to get some money for actually getting grant work for departments where they actually can send somebody to the task force and backfill that position. Thank you for that. Any other questions?
Okay, we're going to keep it brief, but it's important. Go right ahead, Miss.
I just really want to commend you for your work, and I just want to know if your meetings are open to the community, to the public.
I think right now, as we were starting off, we will have as we move forward, because we do want to involve the community, I think it's going to be important to have a meeting where community members are going to be there and can be involved. That's why I'm saying that there's a certain way as to how we're doing things right now. We're trying to structure things, and we definitely want the community involved. So one of the things we're going to have to do is definitely, law enforcement sensitive, information definitely is one thing, but it doesn't mean that we can't work with the community where we open up meetings And we are there, and the community members can show up, and that's when we start networking, that's when we start communicating with each other to find out what is it that, you guys would like to see happen within your city and vice versa. And we're not just a one city coalition, this is a coalition of the whole Imperial County. And we're trying to put something together where it's going to benefit, not just law enforcement, it's going to benefit the community, the parents, the mothers, the kids, everybody, so that it's something that we want to create that is not, like I said, it's self-sustaining at this time. We don't receive any funds from anywhere. This is just something that we initially volunteered and created, and based on everybody's experience, everybody started brainstorming and doing their inputs and feeling like, what is it that we can do in Imperial County like right now? And number one thing is we didn't want any money in a way where we needed money to operate. So right now we're operating without any money. So like I said, to answer your question, that's something that we are looking to bring up, and we are looking to partner with certain other local community coalition. I know we heard of the MAG coalition, Mothers Against Gangs. That's the kind of thing we want to do. PAL, those are the things that we want to be able to connect with everybody, not just specifically law enforcement. We want to be able to involve everybody.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen. Okay, go ahead and clap. Well deserved. Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Romo will be the last. If you really have some questions as these gentlemen walk out, you may ask them out there. But we have a long agenda, and as an educator, these children are getting antsy. They're beginning to chew on the chairs there. So we're going to move forward. So, Mr. Romo?
Thank you very much. I'll be very, very brief. Congratulate everyone, Chief Tavares, and all the officers involved. And I concur with the two ladies that spoke. There is funding availability, and since 1994-95, as a former housing commissioner, I worked with the Department of HUD, and we had a drug elimination program, and we had a contract with the city. So there was above-line services, and I concur with Potent Moreno that this is a good example. But there's elderlies out there. The funds are there, and I just seem to concur because I was involved in the drug elimination program. We were involved with the city, and it's too bad that went down. But if this gentleman wished to contact me, I conducted a neighborhood watch program. I'm a co-founder of a resident organization, and I have some insight. Thank you very much.
We
That's
appreciate that. Thank you, Mr. Romo. Yes. Okay, we're going to move forward. Thank you very much, gentlemen. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you. Okay. Okay, now it's time for announcements and public appearance and public comments. Ladies and gentlemen, I won't be rude, but I'll ask you to put closure to it once you come to your 3 minutes, not to exceed 3 minutes. This is the time for the public to address the council on any item not appearing on the agenda that is within the subject matter jurisdiction of the City Council. The mayor will recognize you, and when you come to the microphone, please state your name and place of residence for the record. Now, while members of the public are encouraged to participate, it is unlawful to disturb or delay the council meeting with personal or slanderous remarks. If the item you wish to comment on is closed session or consent item, please comment now. If the item you wish to comment on is on the public portion of the agenda, we will take your comment when we get to the item on the agenda. Please direct your questions and comments to the City Council. Supervisor Rennerson, you may go first. Make it as brief as possible. You're a very glib and a good speaker, so I know you will.
Thank you very much. Good evening, City Council. Good evening, everybody. Couple of things. The Port of Entry $98 million funding has cleared the first hurdle.
I know.
We have a second hurdle. We're going to clear that one. We get a good feel about that. So we might know by August if we get the funding. So we're going to ask you through a concerted letter writing effort again soon to get with our elected officials in Washington, but we have bipartisan support, so that's good news. Second thing, I want to congratulate Mark Baz and them, the transit system and the transit center here in Calexico is much needed, and we hope that goes forward very soon. So also, I want to talk about a roads workshop we will be having Tuesday at 1:30 PM at the county. That will be talking about county roads, and on that subject, we'll be talking about the approach to Calexico on Hammers and Anza Road.
1:30?
District 1, 1:30, Tuesday. So this will be strictly about county roads. That'll be after the board meeting, okay? So I want to just bring those issues to light and make sure you're aware of those, and hopefully you can send somebody. I know I spoke to Dick Servine about that, and he's available and possibly can attend that. But it would be good if an elected official could attend that as well.
I'll
It's
try
very
to make it,
important.
sir.
Bring the message back. The county board voted today to fund $8 million in county roads. So, and we have about $2 or $3 more million in LTA funding that we could utilize. The other bit of good news is I have approached the school district. They have provided me with a letter of requesting community benefit funds for the swimming pool.
Yes.
And I told them that they needed to be in first position, so when the community benefit monies are released in a few months, they are in first position. Doesn't mean they're going to get it, but the Community Benefit Committee will recommend to the Board of Supervisors, and the Board of Supervisors will in fact fund different, like the Historical Museum in Ocotillo and other projects. So that's something the City Council needs to also work in concert with the school district. It would really help the cause. So you could ask for whatever you want. Obviously, Maria Ambriz prepared a nice letter detailing her ask, so you might want to get with the school district and get on the same page. That would be very good. And that's what I want to talk to you about today. And by the way, no backups on Imperial Avenue. Have you noticed?
Yes.
No backups.
And that's because?
Mexico really cooperated. The Customs Service really cooperated with us, and they've done a great job, and we were really thankful, saving the city of Calexico thousands of dollars.
Ask me that during Christmas time.
You will not have any backups, believe me. I don't think. Thank you.
Good work. Thank you very much, Supervisor John Rennes. Okay. All right. These nice young people, it's their time in the limelight. Carmen Estrada, please come forward. I have you down. You want to go, Tony? Okay. All right. Antonio Garcia. Antonio.
Good evening, folks. Honorable Mayor, Mayor Pro Tem. Kids, thank you for behaving. Appreciate that. Love you guys for that. I'm bringing you a bit of good news here. Last month, we ventured out to Riverside, California. We took 4 of our teams to a tournament hosted by the LA Galaxy. That's the professional soccer team from Los Angeles. We did very well. We took 80 players, 4 teams. We took 3 of our teams went to the finals. We ended up with 3 second places and a 3rd place. We also brought back La Copa. Show us La Copa, folks.
All right.
Our kids behaved awesome. I'm very proud of them. Based on our involvement with La Copa, the LA Galaxy wants to partner with us to host a tournament here in October. This is the LA Galaxy. And they're asking us to have 6 parks available so they can hold these matches. We have most of them covered, but we'd like the help of the city and the maintenance department to water and seed these places where we play now. And that way we can count on these parks and tell these people, hey, we have these places available to play, let's get it on. And you're talking about teams from all over, from Nevada, Central California, Arizona. At this tournament, there was teams from Mexico there too. We ended up doing very well. I'm very proud of them. These guys did awesome. Congratulations, guys. So on another bit, I have some people that I'd like to recognize publicly for their assistance and support. We have a lot of people that help us out on nonstop support. One of them is Armando Villarreal.
Armando.
Armando Real.
Armando, thank you very much for your help.
Thank you. Real.
One other, I guess we call it an organization of business that helped us out tremendously is Azteca Tours, the bus tours.
Okay, very
And
good.
for this one, we want to recognize its owner, Noé Muñoz. Last but not least on my agenda, someone who's been with us for 4 years or even more, supporting us continuously, helping us out at the municipal level. City Councilman Luis Castro. As you've seen also in here, my 3 minutes up? I got one more thing to do.
Go right ahead.
We see a sea of orange shirts. These are all gentlemen that have played together, han jugado juntos muchos desde los 15 años de edad, y por algo siguen siendo campeones. These gentlemen are the Calexico Parents Athletic League team that just won the championship at La Ahumadita Primera División League in Mexicali. They are on their way to the national, should I say, playoffs in Monterrey, Nuevo León later on in November. And this is their trophy.
Quite an accomplishment. Congratulations. Congratulations.
Felicidades. This is their trophy.
Calexico. Wow. That's taller than I am.
And this is 50 years and up, the league. Señores, felicidades. On that note, I will bid adieu. I will depart, but I've got to present the next presenter, if feasible, the Honorable Judge Ruth Montenegro.
All right.
Good evening, Mayor Hodge and council members. I'm Ruth Montenegro, and on behalf of the Calexico Police Athletic League, I am very pleased to present this plaque in appreciation to a wonderful volunteer who has been instrumental in the success of the league. He has volunteered countless hours as well as his own money in prepping the fields as well as supporting the league. And this plaque is presented to Joe Acuna.
Very good, very good. Way to go, Joe.
We have 2 more presentations to do, just the awards.
Go right ahead.
Next one will be Ms. Veronica Toscano.
Good evening, city members and people here present. I just would like to congratulate all the kids that are been working hard in order for Calexico to receive a name and feel proud of them and all the work they do, and not only them but his parents or their parents, that even though with lots of struggles they've been trying to do their best and making the city of Calexico shine somehow, and we're expecting more from them. And I would like to ask you, please, for the month of October, that we're going to be receiving other people from outside for them to have more games here, that please help us with the parks. We need parks, and I would like to ask you, please, because we somehow are keeping our kids away from, from all different things that we don't want to.
Absolutely.
So, and I would like to congratulate also the Calexico Parents League, and me as part of them. I want to congratulate them because they have been doing lots of very good job. Thank you very much.
Thank you very much. Thank you.
Our last presenter of the evening, he's been here already, but he needs no introduction, Mr. John Renison.
All right.
Thank you very much. We'll be very quick here. There's a couple of people, I'll do it in Spanish and English. Quiero presentar la primera placa a Enrique de Yorque por su dedicación, su trabajo y persistencia. Felicidades. Congratulations. Also, on behalf of the Parents Athletic League, otorga el presente reconocimiento a Daniel Gutiérrez por su excelente desempeño mostrado durante todos estos años. Sinceramente, el PAL, con fecha de 3 de mayo de 2014, de parte de la señora Estrada y todo el equipo del CPAL. His daughter will be receiving the plaque.
afternoon, everybody. My name is Reina Gutierrez. I'm accepting this on behalf of my dad. He is a little under the weather today, but he wanted to save his strength to keep that park beautiful. Keep up the good job. Thank you.
Thank you.
Mr. Mayor, can I buy about 30 seconds? Dad wants to say one thing.
Go right ahead.
You're approaching 8 minutes, but who's counting?
I'm not counting.
First of all, Honorable Council, citizens of Calexico and staff, I want to give a reason why I support the CPAL here, Ms. Estrada, and all the kids here in, that went to LA, this big city, you know, and I'm sure that they're over there shaking their head saying, Calexico, you know, why did they come over here and, pardon my French, kick our butts, you know, because it's second place to go to LA and do that. I mean, it's crazy, right, for us here in Calexico. But I want to say that CPAL is a great organization, and I want to urge the city to help not just them, but we have, I'm going to say a few here that just came up to mind right now. I said we got the Adrian Cordova Foundation, Baja Runners, Desert Bandits, the PAL, Class of 82, Los Amigos, Rotary, all these clubs that they do what they do for Calexico because they love Calexico. And I think that's why you guys are up here, because we love this city. So I want to urge you guys to, you know, help them as much as possible, because our city is going through some growing pains, and I know that these people pick up the slack that our city sometimes can't do. I mean, we have some people cleaning parks. We got, you know, I know Hajo's out there with me cleaning the roadways, and you know, we're doing it because we love our city. So please, you know, support all these people I said, including CPAL. Thank you.
Thank you for the Starbucks card. Thank you.
I'm all done. Thank you. Expect bigger, better things from CPAL. Thank you.
Okay, we have Carmen Estrada. Ladies and gentlemen, Carmen Estrada. Get up there, Carmen. We're going to postpone our regular meeting. Okay, go ahead, Carmen.
Okay. Buenas tardes, soy Carmen Estrada, directora y fundadora de este programa, que me enorgullece cada día más crecer y brillar con todas estas personas. Estoy muy orgulloso de todos ustedes, porque la verdad, las personas que realmente tienen el corazón están aquí. Y somos grandes, quiero decirles que somos grandes, porque sin dinero llegamos a donde queremos, porque tenemos el orgullo, la pasión, que es lo más importante. Porque hay veces tienes dinero y no tienes el corazón y no llegas a donde tienes que llegar. ¿Por qué? Porque falta esto. Y la verdad, estoy muy orgullosa. Ahorita está aquí mi hija Grecia, Edna. Tengo 6 hijas y estoy muy orgullosa de ellas, porque ellas son unas gran niñas, basquetbolistas, softbolistas. Es todo un orgullo de una familia. Y ustedes saben que no digo mentiras, es realidad. Crecí con muchos sacrificios, muchas barreras, muchas piedras, y las personas que llegan aquí conmigo son personas que llegan realmente porque les nace ayudar a este programa, porque hay veces carecemos de muchas cosas. Este torneo que teníamos programado 100 niños no se iba a hacer realidad, porque contábamos con un dinero el que cada año nos los dan. No se pudo dar. ¿Por qué? Porque no hay unión, hay separación. Tenemos que unirnos, señores, para crecer como familias, porque así es como vamos a llegar a donde tenemos que llegar. Si seguimos separados, no vamos a llegar. Vamos a seguir solos, pero vamos a seguir triunfando poco a poco. Pero si nos unimos, vamos a crecer más rápidamente, porque el nombre de Calexico lo llevamos aquí. Y créanme que yo, aquí donde estoy, tengo 3 meses con una enfermedad y dejé un comité muy fuerte aquí en este programa y me lo sacaron adelante. Y gracias, Brenda, gracias, Edna, porque han estado conmigo en los momentos más difíciles. Y yo les pido de favor que sigan ayudando a este programa, porque hay veces uno continúa pero hay momentos en que para, no porque no tenga la fuerza uno, porque hay cosas difíciles en familia, que no puede crecer por enfermedad. Pero no quiero dar lástima, quiero que nos ayuden a continuar. Y estoy aquí por ti, Luis, por mi esposo, porque él es un gran papá, él es un gran abuelo, y gracias por estar aquí conmigo, porque el equipo este es de él, es de mi esposo, desde 15 años, es una selección de jugadores. Ahorita tienen 55 años y eso me enorgullece a mí como persona y esposo de este señor. José Luis Estrada, párate, mi hijo, por favor. Gracias. Y vamos a seguir adelante, apoyándonos para crecer como una gran familia que somos. Muchas gracias.
Thank you very much, Carmen Estrada. We love you. We appreciate your dedication. And you're on our prayers, and we need you here, and we know you're not going any place. So thank you very much for all the presentations. I do have one more, if that's correct.
Mayor.
Yes, yes, you may.
Sí, voy a hablar en español. Quiero darle las gracias a la señora Estrada por el apoyo que les ha dado a esta comunidad, especialmente a los jóvenes, que les ha permitido llegar a donde han llegado. Quiero darle las gracias a los padres, a los coaches, que han tenido esa paciencia de seguir adelante en esta comunidad, y también a los veteranos y super veteranos que, como dijo la señora Estrada, se han mantenido 15 años unidos, o 40, desde los 15 años, tienen 40 años unidos jugando. Es algo que no es muy normal, pero ustedes como equipo han luchado y se han mantenido. Les deseo lo mejor allá en Monterrey y que sigan adelante. Gracias una vez más, a los niños también. Gracias.
Okay, very good.
Mr. Chair, please.
Go right ahead, Mr. Councilman Kim.
Thank you, Mr. Estrada, Mr. Garcia, and the coaches. And you guys, one of the salt of this community to giving the surviving or giving the life our children for the future. And I can't say much because when I study, I'm gonna be big stories. So I just want to have. I've been seeing some of the coaches, they spending their own money to trying to fix the sprinklers. And I believe the city staff has to be due diligent to make sure our condition, all the sports areas, parks, to make sure good condition. I believe we have a little better condition than before, but still far away to go reach their goals. And also, I've been seeing I believe last year or year before, our police department had some fund to give the fund to the Parents Athletic League from I believe, the forfeiture money, if our staff can figure out to fund them, because I believe they have a lot of traffic transportation going out of the city. In case of we can fund some to them. I believe we have Mr. Carmen Alvi to Grand Plaza. If they have some funds available to support them, I'd like to see that one too. Thank you.
Mayor Pro Tem.
Muchas gracias, señor Estrada, por todo lo que haces por esta comunidad y que sigue adelante y va a seguir adelante. Una pregunta a los niños. ¿Quién va a ganar la Copa Mundial? ¿Team USA o Team México? Down the middle of the road. Good answer.
That's it, sir? Okay, Councilwoman Hurtado. All right, very good. Real quick. You know, it's wonderful that we sit here and we praise you, but that's not what you need. You need money and you need resources. And I promise, and I know we all promise, that we will work hard to help you in that way, okay? Sometimes it's difficult, but we have not forgotten you. We will move forward and help you. Thank you. I do have one more here, Edna Cervantes. Edna.
Buenas tardes, mi nombre es Edna Cervantes. Solamente quiero hacer hincapié y dar las gracias a todos los coaches, las personas voluntarias que están detrás de una organización, que por esas grandes personas somos lo que somos ahora. Estamos muy orgullosos de los niños que fueron a representarnos a Riverside y ahora julio vamos al California State Games en San Diego, July 12 and 13. Vamos a competir ahí. Este sería nuestro 4º año. Siempre tenemos 4 años quedando victoriosos con el primer lugar en la categoría de Enrique. Y también estoy muy orgullosa de formar parte y ser participante también de esos grandes señores, que por esos grandes señores somos lo que somos ahorita. Y yo sé que detrás de cada uno de esos niños hay unos grandes papás que están detrás de nosotros, porque por la comunidad sus hijos están aquí y obviamente ocupamos la comunidad y ocupamos estas personas que nos conducen a llegar a donde estamos. Gracias, Noé. Noé, una persona que se unió a nosotros, gracias por la transportación, que esa es una vía para poder llevar 80 niños. Gracias, Noé. Gracias, gracias. Armando Real. También muchas gracias, Armando. Y estamos muy interesados y estamos agradecidos por haber estado y ser partícipe de la organización que viene adelante. Y sí nos gustaría trabajar como organización con ellos, porque es muy importante que los niños se eduquen sobre todos esos males que están en la comunidad. Pero nosotros estamos aquí para luchar por ellos. Señor Tavares, junto con usted, los policías y la comunidad, vamos a crecer y Calexico triunfa.
Thank you very much. Okay, there is one more public announcement. Who else now? Okay, come forward.
Good evening. My name is Grecia Medina Estrada, and I'm just here to recognize a team that is part of my family, because since I was 5 years old, they've been part of my dad's team, which I'm very proud of my dad for giving me the ability, the heart, and the passion to be a sport and athletic student too, as Mr. Moreno can back me up on that one. I actually want to congratulate the soccer team here too, because when I was a basketball player and I would go out there to San Diego, they would be like, Calexico, where's Calexico? It's in Mexico? And we would always give them a hard time telling them, no, it's just like next to the border, but we're in the US. So I'm pretty sure now they know where Calexico is, because we've been bringing back first place, second place, third place since 2008. So I'm very proud of you guys too. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. You want to skip? Up to 13? Okay. No, that's not the one we moved up. It's 16. Okay. All right, that concludes our, oh, I'm sorry, no. One more. John Romo, I had one here for you. Are you still available, sir?
Of course.
Mr. Mayor, are we under public comments?
Yes, we are, sir. You're the last one,
Under
sir.
presentations. First of all, I'd like to bring the same concern that I've been bringing for a couple of months, as well as other members of the community, as far as attendance for committees, boards, and commissions. I don't know whether a letter has been sent or a notification, letter or notification has been sent out to this boards and commissions, committees, that it's a requirement for them to attend on a regular basis, and also to submit a quarterly report. That was my last request on, I believe in the latter part of April. In March, I brought this up to you as well as other council members. Right now, I would like to know if you have given direction that there must be a required attendance? Yes or no?
Anyone want to respond to that?
Has there been any direction?
I'm sorry, on referring to what, required attendance to what again, Mr. Romo? I'm sorry.
Okay.
I got down the quarterly report, but
No. It's the attendance of all commissions, boards, and committees. That's it. And their quarterly reports, where they're going, their activities, what they're doing. 3 months back, this was brought to you. Mr. Castro acknowledged that. You acknowledged that. And I'm just wondering, direction has been given? Has a notification been given to all commissions, boards, or members that were appointed by this city council? That's my question.
yeah, and that's a good question. And I have
Again,
been
yes.
concerned, and I've talked to people in the city staff. I don't know at this point. Interim city manager.
Well, we'll go ahead and send a note out with the permission of the council in regard to what your rules currently are. I do not know what your rules are at the present time, but I'll ask Gabby if she would go ahead and send those notes out to the commission and the committees.
Okay.
Well, thank you, sir. One last thing, and I would like to have it for the record. I'm going to have it in the next agenda, discussion and interaction for the city council to enforce attendance and a quarterly report to this council,
I'll make that.
okay? And also, this concerns for the attendance does not apply to Mr., like, as an example, Mr. Tony Garcia and to Mrs. Estrada, to all those people that are in the committees, Mr. Ben Horton, those people, just to name a few, I really applaud their dedication. It takes a lot of dedication. There is a role, when you appoint them, there is a role. They're there for a purpose, okay? I know, and time is up.
Just nicely ask you to put
Yeah,
closure.
well,
Mr. Romo.
thank you very much. But this is important as well as important.
We understand.
Yeah. Their role is important. What they're doing is important.
Absolutely.
Their activity is important.
Absolutely.
Look at this beautiful team. This is beautiful, nice work. That is important. That is dedication.
Thank you very much, Mr. Romo. Okay, that's a good point. Let's take just a few minutes break. A 3.5 break, yeah.